Happening now, Congressman Nick Langworthy announces over $120,000 in federal funding for the Southern Tier healthcare system. And Jamestown man pleads guilty to first-degree manslaughter. Plus, State Senator George Borrello discusses lawsuit against Governor Hochul's quarantine regulation.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
Thank you for joining us at Western New York News Now. I'm Lee Kane Jr. Those stories and more are coming up, but first, a late-night domestic dispute on December 4th, 2023 resulted in the arrest of two Jamestown residents on charges of criminal contempt and harassment. Responding to a call at 11:31 p.m., officers from the Jamestown City's 3rd Platoon discovered the couple, both subjects to valid stay-away orders, in the North Side apartment. The police arrested Rudy L. Ryan, 47, and Christina L. Dorman, 48, without incident, but a troubling turn occurred when Ryan spat in Dorman's face while in custody. The duo now faces charges, Rudy L. Ryan, 47, with criminal contempt in the first degree and harassment in the second degree, while Christina L. Dorman, 48, is charged with criminal contempt in the second degree. The accused are presently held at Jamestown City Jail awaiting arraignment. Well, in other news, on December 4th, 2023, a 36-year-old homeless individual was apprehended by Jamestown police after breaking into a J1 auto on Windsor Street. At around 11:37 p.m., officers from the Jamestown Police Department's 3rd Platoon responded to an alarm at J1 Auto. Upon arrival, they discovered a shattered window and found Chad E. Walters inside. Despite repeated commands to exit, Walters refused, prompting their request for a key holder. Subsequently, officers entered the premises and peacefully took Walters into custody. Chad E. Walters now faces charges of burglary in the 3rd degree, criminal mischief in the 3rd degree, and possession of burglar's tools. Currently held pending arraignment at Jamestown City Court, Walters was transported to the city jail without further incident. Well, in other news, Erie County District Attorney John J. Flynn has announced the arraignment of a 29-year-old man and a 20-year-old man on charges of gang assault in the 1st degree following a violent incident at Club Marcella in Buffalo. Ramon L. Lopez, 29, and Yeramel Benitez, 20, appeared before Buffalo City Court Judge Andrew C. Lotempio for their alleged involvement in a group assault on Sunday, December 3rd, 2023 at around 2:30 a.m. The attack occurred in the Club Marcelo bathroom on Michigan Avenue, resulting in the male victim sustaining a gunshot wound. The victim was promptly transported to ECMC, where he remains hospitalized with serious injuries. Well, in other news, in a collaborative effort, officers from Jamestown Police Department's Violent Crime Unit and K-9 Unit executed a traffic stop at 3:58 p.m., prompted by an observed traffic infraction. The subsequent search of the vehicle allegedly unveiled a torn baggie containing an unidentified white powder believed to be narcotics. Both Devontae J. Green, 24, and Kyle S. Stilson, 27, were taken into custody. Further investigation reveals Stilson's possession of large baggies containing a similar substance, while Devontae J. Green, 24, en route to the city jail, attempted to destroy a significant quantity of fentanyl hidden on his person. Green now faces charges of criminal possession of a controlled substance in the 3rd degree and tampering with physical evidence, whereas Stilson is charged with 2 counts of criminally using drug paraphernalia in the 2nd degree. The substances found on Stilson were identified as mannitol, commonly used as a mixing agent with narcotics. Both suspects are currently held in Jamestown City Jail awaiting arraignment in Jamestown City Court. As WNY News Now continues, Congressman Nick Langworthy announces over $120,000 in federal funding for the Southern Tier healthcare system. And later, Jamestown man pleads guilty to first-degree manslaughter. Stay with us as WNY News Now. We'll be right back.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
Move over.
When you see signs,
Lights. Vests.
Please, give us some room.
Slow down. Slow down and move over.
When you need help,
It's our job
To help you.
to save you.
despite the danger.
This danger is real. Do your part.
Please.
Slow down. Slow down. And move over.
Move over.
You are loved. You are valued. You are resilient. You got this.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Congressman Nick Langworthy, who represents New York's 23rd Congressional District, announced a grant for Southern Tier Healthcare System Incorporated in the amount of $120,348 as part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, Distance Learning and Telemedicine Grant Program. This significant federal investment in Southern Tier healthcare systems will allow them to bolster their staff training and services in Cattaraugus County, said Representative Langworthy. I'm proud to sponsor legislation to reauthorize USDA's Distance Learning and Telemedicine program, which has been instrumental in connecting our rural communities to quality care. I look forward to our continued collaboration to ensure that communities across the Southern Tier have access to quality care and specialty medical services. I want to thank Congressman Langworthy for his tireless advocacy for improved rural health care in our region and the USDA for their collaboration in addressing the unique challenges faced by our rural communities, said Donna L. Comm, SBHR, President and CEO of Southern Tier Healthcare Systems Incorporated. This grant underscores a shared commitment to ensure that residents in southwestern New York have access to the highest standard of holistic healthcare services. The Southern Tier Healthcare System is dedicated to working with our federal partners to offer a wide range of tangible assistance to our underserved communities. In August, Congressman Langworthy introduced the Rural Telehealth and Education Enhancement Act of 2023, which will reauthorize the USDA's Distance Learning and Telemedicine program that provides federal funding for telemedicine and distance learning in rural communities across the United States. According to the USDA, this rural development investment will be used to equip 3 hub/end user sites in Cattaraugus County. This project will provide training opportunities for healthcare professionals to better address opioid and substance use disorders and mental health care. On behalf of President Biden and Secretary Vilsack and the entire New York State Rural Development Team, we congratulate Southern Tier Healthcare Systems and the team here. Donna, you continue to deliver not only for the Southern Tier, but for the residents and first responders across rural New York. Thank you for being a partner for prosperity with USDA Rural Development, said Brian Murray, a New York State Director for USDA Rural Development. Well, in other news, Kevin Roldan Pantojas, age 24, of Jamestown, pled guilty on November 13th to manslaughter in the first degree, a Class B felony, for the homicide of Jesus Batista Perez, which occurred on Prendergast Street last August in the city of Jamestown. The DA said, "Shootouts and gun violence may seem more commonplace than ever before here in our community, but we are doing everything in our power with the limited resources available to us to reverse the tide." From the time of this shooting that afternoon on August 19, 2022, to the day that Mr. Roldan Pantojas pled, the Jamestown police detectives, myself, and my felony team here at the DA's office, including our investigators, have worked tirelessly to ensure a conviction in this manner. One way or the other, whether by plea or after trial, we were committed to seeing this through to conviction. Unfortunately, we live at a time when the resolution of this homicide is not the end. We have multiple homicides lined up for trial in the next few months and continue to do the work necessary to ensure convictions in those cases too. The DA would like to thank the Jamestown Police Department for their tireless work on this case. Mr. Roldan Pantojas is scheduled to be sentenced on January 12, 2024 at 9 a.m. Well, coming up next, Senator Gillibrand releases first-of-its-kind report on arrests and illegal guns seized under anti-gun trafficking law. But first, we return with a look at our full weather forecast.
Catch your First Defense forecast daily on WNY News Now.
Right here, baby. Look. Uma. ¿Cuántos años tienes?
No.
Something more than a birthday is happening here. Once you can see it, you can help. The sooner you recognize the signs of autism, the sooner you can make a lifetime of difference for your child. Start by answering a few simple questions at screenforautism.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Catch your First Defense forecast daily on WNY News Now.
Fast, accurate, and everyday. First Defense weather.
Welcome back to WNY News Now. Let's take a look at some of those snowfall reports from the past 24 hours. Not much to report of. Wellsville just under 2 inches. Same thing in Franklinville. Springville in Erie County at 1.5 inches. Mayville at 1 inch of snow. Fredonia just a little over 1/2 inch of snow, and Dunkirk reported a trace of snow. We'll add on another trace to maybe 1 inch or 2 overnight tonight into the early half of tomorrow, and I'll talk about that in future scan in just a moment. First, the almanac for today made it to a high of 33 degrees yesterday in the city of Jamestown. Our low was 29. The records for today, 71. The record high set back in 2001. The record low of 2 set back in 1901. So let's time out future scan. Generally dry conditions this evening. Mostly cloudy skies across the region. Warm front lifts through the region overnight tonight. That's going to bring some widespread light snow showers and rain showers to the region overnight tonight through the first half of tomorrow before that tapers off through the afternoon hours. And we're left with generally dry conditions through the rest of tomorrow afternoon. Possibly even some clearing across the southern tier maybe before sunset. High pressure builds in the region overnight Thursday into Friday, and that should provide us with a mainly dry day on Friday. Hopefully we get a little bit more sunshine to break through those clouds heading into Friday. Again, we're only looking at maybe a dusting to upwards of 1 inch or 2 of snow overnight tonight into the early half of tomorrow across the southern tier and into northwestern Pennsylvania. So here's your forecast in full detail for your Thursday. A few early mixed rain and snow showers in the morning. We'll taper off through the afternoon, leaving us with generally mostly cloudy skies for the rest of the afternoon hours. High temperatures tomorrow range from the upper 30s to lower 40s with a southwest wind of 10 to 15 miles per hour. The rest of that 7-day outlook powered by Ultimate Solutions. So Friday, after that warm front moves through, we'll make it up into the upper 40s on Friday with partly sunny skies. Is it really going to be feeling like December as we head into the weekend with temperatures in the upper 50s both Saturday and Sunday, possibly even reaching the lower 60s in some spots. Saturday will be mainly dry, although rather cloudy. Low pressure begins to move into the region overnight Saturday and Sunday. That's going to bring widespread rain to the region on Sunday. Before that cold front associated with that system moves through the region late Sunday night, possibly a period of gusty winds will accompany that cold front late Sunday, and then heading into Monday and Tuesday of next week behind that cold front, we're back down into the mid-30s with a chance for some lake effect snow heading into early next week.
Andrew, thank you. Well, U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand held a video press conference to unveil her original report analyzing initial successes from the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, BSCA's anti-gun trafficking section and mental health funding distribution. Gillibrand's first-of-its-kind report found that more than 1,300 illegal guns have been seized by law enforcement and more than 200 defendants have been charged under BSCA's new gun trafficking statute. The analysis shows that at least 190 of the seized guns were AR-15 or AR-style weapons, and authorities also seized at least 151 ghost guns. The data also revealed that over $750 million has been distributed to finance mental and behavioral health services nationwide, which will also support the hiring of over 14,000 new mental health professionals in schools. Senator Gillibrand's Dean Pendleton and Nasia Prayir-Yard Gun Trafficking and Crime Prevention Act form the centerpiece of BSCA's anti-gun trafficking provision. Gillibrand first introduced the bill in 2009 after meeting with the family of Nasia Prayir-Yard, who tragically lost her life at 17 years old when she was shot by a perpetrator using an illegally trafficked gun. Gillibrand worked with Nasia's mother, Jennifer Prayir, to pass the bill into law, and they attended the bill signing together last year. Well, coming up next, State Senator George Borrello discusses a lawsuit against Governor Hochul's quarantine regulation.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
If you want to speak truth to the masses, make it funny for the classes.
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
Hi, everyone. Al Roker here. As a guy with his own catchphrase, I appreciate that Smokey's only said,
"Only you can prevent wildfires."
But I'm filling in because there's a lot more to report. Like when there are parched or windy conditions out there, you gotta be extra careful with things like burning yard waste. After all, wildfires can start anywhere, even in your neck of the woods. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
State Senator George Borrello, in an exclusive interview with WNY News Now, discussed the outcome of a lawsuit filed in July of the previous year against Governor Kathy Hochul and the New York State Department of Health. The lawsuit specifically targeted Regulation 213, a contentious isolation and quarantine regulation. Okay, so we are rolling now.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me, Mr. Borrello. Can you just start by giving the viewers just an overview of what all is going on with this case?
So, as you may be aware, in July of 2022, last year, we successfully sued Kathy Hochul, our governor, and the New York State Department of Health against the isolation and quarantine regulation, which is Regulation 213, and it was struck down. That regulation was a horrible, draconian misuse and abuse of power. But our lawsuit was based on the separation of powers. And the judge agreed with us. He said that this was clearly a violation of separation of powers because it is the legislative branch, not the executive branch, that makes laws. And this regulation was in fact essentially a copy and paste from a bill that never went anywhere, Assembly Bill 416, which got a lot of attention as a very draconian lockdown procedure that had been around for years. In fact, before the pandemic, it was been around since 2015. And Assembly Bill 416 never went anywhere. It never had matching legislation in the Senate. It never had a single co-sponsor, Democrat or Republican, and it never got into a committee agenda. So it was an orphan, truly. And yet, somehow, our governor felt that it was appropriate to take much of that legislation and turn it into regulation. So again, Judge Plotz in the state Supreme Court ruled that it was a violation of separation of powers, but he also went on to further excoriate the governor and the Department of Health, that this lacked any due process. Just to summarize, what this regulation would do is it would allow any public health official to show up at your door without proof that you're sick or infected, without proof that you're a public health threat, and with force of police, remove you from your home. Literally, they could show up at your door, and whether it's you or your child or your elderly parents or grandparents, and say, I believe you've been exposed to any long list of diseases. By the way, not just highly infectious, contagious diseases. Some of the diseases on this list that the governor and the Department of Health could change with the stroke of a pen are not even communicable diseases, including things like botulism, toxic shock syndrome is on that list, even Lyme disease. These are serious diseases, but they are not communicable diseases that would create a public health threat for infection. So, with all that being said, clearly the state Supreme Court decision was very clear that this regulation was null and void. Of course, the governor and the attorney general have all of our money to work with as taxpayers, and they appealed that decision. They appealed it to the appellate division, which is the next step up. Fast forward now to September of this year, where the appellate division out of Rochester, the 4th division, did hear the case. We had oral arguments. Our wonderful, fabulous attorney, Bobby Ann Cox, who's been doing this all pro bono, no pay, She is just a true patriot and defender of the Constitution. She made a fabulous argument in front of that the 5-judge panel. And we just found out a couple weeks ago that the panel reversed the lower court decision. However, they did not address the merits of the case. What the 5-judge panel said was that we lacked standing as state legislators to bring this lawsuit. Very, very concerning for them to say that, because it's basically saying that we as state legislators do not have standing to sue the governor, the executive branch, for a breach of the separation of powers. They did not rule on the merits of the case.
And that is just incredibly concerning because, I mean, whenever the only legal recourse to such actions is, lawsuits, but they're saying you don't have any standing to bring those suits, it feels like there's not really any way to push back against executive overreach.
Yeah, and this decision does have tremendous ripple effect on cases. If the court is ruling that we do not have standing, this could set a precedent for so many others. It is a really attack on our First Amendment rights and our right to petition our government when we feel something is wrong. It is a very disconcerting decision, and it is a step, I think, towards totalitarian dictatorship right here in the United States, right here in New York State, by allowing a governor to have such sweeping authority without the oversight of the legislature. So very, very concerning. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. You should be very concerned about this ruling and about this governor's willingness to want to have such sweeping authority that would be handed down to low-level bureaucrats, including local public health officials, that could have this power to pull you from your home without any proof at all that you are a threat, that you even are sick. And without any without any limits as to how long you could be held, where you could be held, and absolutely no process, no mechanism for you to get out of that isolation and quarantine. So as a result, while we are disappointed in this, we are planning to appeal this decision to the highest court in New York State, the Court of Appeals. And we are hopeful that they will take the case. Of course, they're not obligated to take that case. Just like the United States Supreme Court, they can choose whether or not they hear a case. So we will see. I'm hopeful that if they choose to hear it, that they will decide this on the merits of the case and not on some, I believe, invalid technicality that we don't have standing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I think this is kind of building off of what you said, but one thing that detractors might say is, all of a sudden you're against public safety, but this isn't what that's about. This is making sure that the government is not overstepping its bounds.
Absolutely. First and foremost, let me also mention that there is a law that has been on the books for 70 years in New York State that gives the public health authorities, the Department of Health, the ability to address someone who they consider to be a threat to public health. But in that 70-year-old law, there are plenty of due process protections. First and foremost, the law requires that this person actually needs to be sick, and that the government has an obligation to prove that they are sick. They also have an obligation to prove that they are a public health threat, and they have to go before a judge to get a warrant before they can take someone and forcibly quarantine them against their will. So the ability to control the spread of disease, communicable disease, is already in place in New York State. This regulation goes well beyond that, into the realm of, again, totalitarian dictatorship type regulation. And that's so those that think, the government needs to have this power, look at what happened during the pandemic, look at Ebola, whatever. Those rules are already in place. There were laws passed by the New York State legislature and that are used by the Department of Health and have been used for years, because there have been situations where you've had outbreaks of disease and so forth. And there should be tools to deal with that in an emergency situation. But you need to follow due process. That is a basic, fundamental right provided to us by the United States Constitution.
Exactly. And this is not a binary thing where it's either do nothing or do everything.
Yes.
I mean, there is a median point.
Yes, you're right. This is not a binary choice. And also, one of the things that really disappoints me is the mainstream media continues to parrot the governor's talking points and saying this is only about highly infectious diseases, and it's not. There is a list of diseases that are associated with this regulation, many of which are not communicable diseases. Yes, we want to be able to do what we can to control highly contagious diseases, but when you could use something like botulism, which is food poisoning, as an excuse to isolate someone, take them from their home, that should be very concerning to every New Yorker and every American.
So is there anything else that you want to say about this topic?
You know, I think that people might not understand the ramifications of this, the ripple effect. I think it's important that people understand that in this case, if this sets a precedent for who can bring a lawsuit against the government, this could be very difficult for people to be able to stand up and push back and say, no, this is wrong. It is a step backwards in our basic constitutional freedoms. And quite frankly, it is an attack on representative democracy.
Yes, well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it, and I really hope that we get to see this play out further in court.
Yeah, I would just tell your viewers to please pay attention, to please understand that the seriousness of this, and to speak out. Contact the governor. Tell him you don't want Rule 213 to be reinstated, and that you do not want to give, particularly these low-level bureaucrats, the ability to have so much power.
Well, that's going to be it for us today. I'd like to thank you all for watching. News continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com and on our mobile app. You can download it today for free in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. We're also on Channel 716 on Roku and at Channel716.com. Thank you for watching.